Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Numbers. I'm Mark Bellows here, your host of this weekly business talk show. I am a tax CPA, work for Clifton Larson Allen, CLA. We've got offices throughout the U.S., and I work in the Roseville office. I head the manufacturing and distribution practice in our region, and I also work with contractors, real estate investors and developers, business tax, individual tax, planning, compliance, that sort of thing. I also sometimes will do some training, and I'm actually putting on for the firm a webinar tomorrow morning. Yes, tomorrow morning it is, 24 hours. It's going to be on the new Section 199A, and this particular webinar tomorrow is geared more towards contractors. We've got one coming up in October that will be geared towards manufacturing distribution. So if you're interested in that, you can go to claconnect.com to find out more info and register for the webinar. Again, it's tomorrow morning, it's an hour long, and it's going to be all about how 199A, the new 20% deduction for businesses, applies to individuals, when it does, when it doesn't, that sort of thing. So I am joined today in the studio here by my guest, Bob Battezzato. Did I say that right, Bob?
Yeah, you did. Good morning.
All right, good morning, Bob. Bob is the Director of Marketing for Cleanrite Buildrite, CRBR.
Yes.
And you came down today from Chico.
Drove down in from Chico.
Thank you for making the drive. That's a long drive.
Not a problem.
So tell us a little bit about what CRBR is.
Well, it's kind of interesting, I think at least. It's a business that a lot of people don't understand or know about. It's basically the restoration business. Currently right now with what's happening in this country, there's a lot of disasters happening, fires, floods and such. We're the company that comes in and helps you put all that back together, basically. I got in this business about 12 years ago, really didn't understand it either because most homeowners hopefully don't ever have to use our services or know about us.
Yep.
But it's the restoration industry. Cleanrite Buildrite was founded in Chico, California. We'll be 60 years old next year, so pretty proud of that. Yeah. It's a locally owned company built from the ground up. And we've expanded, and we have 5 offices now that cover pretty much the North Valley. We have Redding, Chico, Yuba City, Sacramento, and Reno now, so sort of the golden triangle of the northern state. Sure. About 130 employees, and we are the ones that respond when there is a situation with your home. Everything from a small toilet overflow or something simple with mold and such, all the way up to the larger catastrophes that are happening, like up in Redding and fires and such. So, yeah, that's how it works.
Well, now, how did you're originally from Chico?
Yeah,
is that right?
Well, I'm originally from the Bay Area.
Bay Area, okay.
Born and raised in San Francisco,
okay.
So I can talk about that city because I was born there.
Yeah, lots changed a lot.
Lots changed there, but still have family down there and such. But moved up to Chico about 23 years now. Graduate of Chico State. Love the area. Wanted to get back up there, so I was able to move my career through the Bay Area. Then had a wonderful, supportive wife who we moved up there when she was actually pregnant with my second child. And anyway, we got up there, and it's been about 24 glorious years, so it's been great. Yeah. And
so you've been at Cleanrite Buildrite for about
12.
12 years.
Yeah.
What did you do before that?
Before that, I was in the cellular industry, so started with Cellular One, if people remember that.
I remember that.
Yeah, the old bag phones and the install kits and the big clunker phones. And then yeah, I had a great career with them, and worked up into AT&T when they got bought out, and was able to sustain that out of Chico. Worked with Nextel for a while as well, but wanted to work with something local and a local business, especially with my marketing expertise and sales.
Right.
So was able to get on with Cleanrite Buildrite, wonderful company, and family owned, like I said.
Yep.
Good values, great people, and it was local, so that was good. And then we went and opened up all these other offices and started traveling a little bit more, but it's been great. So staying in the North Valley area. So
that's great. And so, we had a situation at our home a few years ago where we had a small fire that started. We had left a candle unattended, and unfortunately it started a little fire, and we were able to put it out within minutes, but it still did extensive smoke damage. It was amazing how much smoke damage it did.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And so we contacted the insurance company, and then they brought in a restoration company out. I couldn't tell you who it was now. It's been a few years. But they came in and they like took everything out. They dry cleaned all of our clothing at the house, cleaned the drapes, the carpets. We ended up getting a painter come in and repaint it. It's amazing for a a small little fire, how much smoke damage can do.
Yeah, smoke damage is is really difficult to work with. And you're right, it's just a small little kitchen fire or something like that. It's the smoke, and then not to even mention your HVAC unit if it gets up in there.
Right.
Then you have a whole nother situation.
Yeah,
so
they cleaned all that out too.
yeah, exactly. So smoke is a tough one. It gets in there everywhere, and you have to use certain systems and such to try to get that molecule out of either your clothing or the air and such. You can't just clean it very easily. So it's a science, and it's a project for a restoration company to take on. Luckily, we have that expertise.
Right.
And we work with your insurance carrier to get that done and take care of those things. Sure.
So when people have a situation, unless something like what we had or something, I mean, they typically will go to their insurance carrier first, and then, is that true?
Correct. Yes,
and the insurance carrier contact you guys? Or?
Yeah, they either go to their agent if they have a great relationship with their agent, call their agent and say I had this happen, or they'll call. Unfortunately, a lot of these things happen sometimes on a Saturday at 2 a.m. in the morning or something.
Sure.
So they'll call their insurance carrier, and then they'll sometimes either direct them to someone to call if they have a relationship with someone local, or they may know about us or call us, and then we get called in to help facilitate that whole process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you guys will come in. 2 minutes. You guys will come in and typically, I'm sure the first point of contact is with a distraught homeowner.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's an interesting business. Again, one I hope nobody ever really needs to utilize. Yeah. However, they don't understand the relationship sometimes, like you just said, about who we are and how we come into the process. So the one thing I really wanted to say today is that homeowners don't realize that they actually do have an option. They do have options, and many times it's an emotional situation and they're just listening to whoever and they just keep moving through the process, and they might get misguided or misdirected. But if they could take a breath and say, well, okay, wait, I'm the policy holder here. It is my house at some level, even though the bank owns probably half of it. But I have an option, and I can take the time to either use someone local or talk to someone about other references of people that can help me with this, and go that route. So many a times we're called in by the homeowner, especially in Chico where we're known very well. Right. Hey, I want to use this company.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
That the fact that, and I think you're right. I think a lot of people don't understand. They think, well, if the insurance carrier says I have to use X, Y, Z company,
correct,
I have to use X, Y, Z. And to your point, no, you actually have options. And so get to know. Well, you don't want to get to know, but if you're ever in that situation,
be aware of
the fact that you have options.
Right. It's sort of like the windshield thing. A lot of people have always had a car windshield or such. Yeah. They'll try to send you to their national person.
Sure.
And you may say, well, I'm in Chico, I want to use Bob's window repair.
Yeah.
Because I know Bob.
Yeah. So
and they'll take a swing and say, well, the warranty, this or that. They kind of try to get you to their national person, which could be a good guy, but you want to go local, you can use local.
All right. So we're talking to Bob Battezzato with Cleanrite Buildrite, CRBR.com is their information. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. We're back. You listen to Beyond the Numbers on Money 105.5. It's your host, Mark Bellows. I'm a tax CPA, a principal with Clifton Larson Allen in the Roseville office. You can get a hold of me at 916-784-7800, or you can email me at mark.bellows@claconnect.com. You can also go to our website to find out more information about CLA and the services we provide, which is much more than accounting and tax. Much more. So today, my guest is Bob Battezzato with CRBR, Cleanrite Buildrite. Bob, thank you for being on the show again. CRBR.com if you want to get a hold of Bob or find out more about, more about Cleanrite Buildrite. And as we're going to the break, we were talking about the fact that it's important for people to know that they have options. So the insurance company, again, may say you have to use such and such, but you have a choice.
Yes, yeah. I mean, again, like I said, you as the policy holder, typically with your dwelling or your property, whether if you own multiple properties or your own home, or we do commercial work, we do residential, whoever the owner is and owns the home, we do all that. Whoever owns the policy has that option, and they need to know that they do have options. But
usually for an individual, quite often your home is your biggest asset. And
right.
It's so important to protect that. We talked about that as we're coming off the break. That again, it's as a tax guy, a lot of times I meet with clients and talk about estate planning, right, and their future,
right,
their family's future and that sort of thing. And it's a very uncomfortable conversation for a lot of people. People don't want to face their own mortality, so they tend to not want to deal with it.
Correct.
I don't want to deal with that right now. Maybe later.
Right.
And I think sometimes looking at your insurance policy and thinking about the fact, what if some type of catastrophic event happens? People don't want to think about that either.
Right.
But people should. They should look at their insurance policy. They should see what their coverage is.
Yeah, that's as we said, we're here on the Money Channel, and like I was saying to you that a lot of people's single biggest investment is their home at times, and they trust their insurance agent. Everybody does. I got this great insurance agent. Oh, I trust him. I have insurance. Well, have you read the policy? Have you really read through it and seen what your options are? And so we see it on a day-to-day basis, unfortunately, because we come in after the fact, and then we're saying we have to work through coverages and estimate with the insurance company and see what's covered, what's not covered, that type of thing, deductibles, all that. So we see the emotional side with the homeowners or the property owners going, oh my God, I didn't know, or my policy didn't cover this or that. As an example, if I give you a quick example, like up in when there's a total loss in a fire, we have what we call policy limits, and I'm not going to get into the insurance aspects of things, but many a times folks have policy limits on there for coverage, and if it's a total loss, have you recently upgraded that policy limit, or did you get the policy in 1990 and you added a new kitchen or something like this and you never told your insurance agent? Well, now your policy limits aren't going to cover the rebuild of that home, code upgrades, all those kinds of things. Right. So there's a lot that goes into it that I encourage people to take a look at their policy periodically, talk to their agent and say, hey, am I covered for today's world if in fact something happens? And you mentioned it, we never like to talk about the if in the world, but you need to, especially today with what's going on.
Yeah, and you and I were talking about it before the show. I mean, there's more and more events seem to be happening. Certainly in our area, fires seem to be. I don't know if they're more prevalent, probably not, but maybe they're bigger than they were. I don't know what it is, but the bottom line is there are fires, and wildfires happen, and so that's a big thing, like the car fire.
Exactly.
So that's a big event that happens, or the one in Santa Rosa. I mean, there are these fires that happen, and so people are going to, if they're in that situation, they're going to need a company like yours. Yeah,
and unfortunately, again, like I said, when that does happen, at first it's an emotional decision. Is everybody safe? Let's get out. Is everybody secure? And that such, that situation. So you go from the emotional side of just getting through the process to then going back and seeing the devastation, another emotional moment. Yeah. But then eventually the money does come up, okay? And so how do I have resources? What does my policy look like? Where, am I going to stay here? That type of thing. So that does come up, and you need to make sure you're protecting yourself for the future. So if in fact that does happen to you, you can make a good decision and stay there. A lot of those people will not rebuild, either through emotional or financial reasons, and it's sad to see that, because then neighborhoods do get traumatized a little bit until someone does come in and rebuild the whole area. So,
so let's say someone unfortunately goes through a situation, so they're going to need a company like yours, and so they go to the insurance company. The insurance company says,
Cleanrite Buildrite, that's fine. Yeah.
Call the restoration company.
Right.
So do people do they usually go get a couple quotes?
Typically that's not how it works, because they can if they'd like. Again, I said the homeowner has options, and there's various ways that they can go. But typically the way it works is the industry is monitored and regulated on the pricing that we put together.
Okay.
So we have a software system that over many years that people have used that kind of regulates our pricing structure. So it's really about the scope and the estimate in which we would write once we go, for instance, your smoke damaged house. We would come there, we'd assess we would assess the situation, we would write an estimate as to what we think it's going to cost to put it all back together, including possibly HVAC, contents, all those things. Right. If there was damage, that type of thing, right? Yeah. And then we work with the insurance company off that estimate with their adjusters, insurance adjusters, and they're called adjusters because they adjust things. And we work with them in unison to put together a feasible estimate under the policy guidelines, under your insurance policy guidelines and your deductibles and all that, to arrive at a figure for the insurance company that says, fine, that's a good estimate, I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars, go ahead and perform the work and get it done. And then you have to, as a homeowner, understand, okay, the company I'm working with, are they capable of doing it? Who's going to be in my home? Are they a good company? What's the warranties? Can they do the work? That type of thing.
So do you guys, so you Cleanrite Buildrite, so do you construction as well?
Yes. So we're one of the unique companies. It's not only a local company, so we have a lot of flexibility in what we do, but we're also a full service company. We call it full service. We do both mitigation and reconstruction. So we can go A to Z, so you only have one person to call if you need to. You need one person to blame, you just call us, you know, but or thank. But we do it all under one roof, and we manage it all under one roof, which is a great thing.
So, so you guys would come in and you do that both. This is both residential and commercial.
Residential and
so
commercial
you come
work.
in if something happened, you could rebuild. You could replace whatever drywall,
Yes,
framing,
all that. Yeah, we
okay.
take care of all that. We either do it through our own crews, or we can subcontract it out. But basically, we're the ones that are going to run the project, which is a really good thing because basically you want to. Like I said, it's very emotional. When you had your fire at your house, you didn't know what to do, how to do it. You didn't want a bunch of people running in and out of your house. So to have one company that does that is good. One point of contact, you know, that kind of coordinates it all for you and then works. The most important thing is that we work with your insurance carrier to help you facilitate that process as well, because you don't want to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay.
Is that your phone going off?
I don't know. I thought I had turned it off.
It sounds like it's going off.
Sorry.
Well, we'll check out the commercial.
I owe you $5.
That's all right. That's all right. So, what do we want to say? Well, let's talk a little bit about the car fire. I mean,
sure.
You know, that was a devastating fire, and so
Car and Santa Rosa. I mean,
both.
those are things that have hit the North State here, and then there's other fires as well that have hit the North State. Too many to mention, unfortunately. But again, going through that process, talking here on the radio, is the things we wanted people to know is, again, you do have options. Take some time, investigate some local folks. There's more work there that can be done by numerous restoration companies, okay? And so what happens though in a situation like that is many a times there's people that come from out of town, or there's people that come in, unfortunately, and they misguide people because they're trying to kind of do a land grab of grabbing you know, you to get you to sign a contract and get involved. There's already been some issues up there with that, with people taking deposits and then leaving town. So I just encourage people to be careful, you know, make sure people have licenses and you know who they are before you start to make that emotional decision of what am I going to do here. Because everybody's in a hurry to get it done, and I get that because they want to get back in their home. But it's a process, and it does take some time, and they've got to go through that process. And just like up in Carr right now, one of the big things is that they have to do all the debris removal before they can start to rebuild, because you have all this waste. And is it toxic? Is it not? Did the houses have asbestos in it? Was there contaminations that were burned? I mean, there's a whole process, and no one likes to hear that when their home has been burned out.
No.
But it is what it is, and get with someone that can take you through that process honestly, with integrity.
And so after that gets done, I mean, the time period for the restoration can vary, I would imagine. And so,
yes, Santa Rosa, you know, is still going on, and probably will go on for a while. And that's a lot of that times is also just based on people's decisions of what they want to do. But a lot of it also is it just takes time, either lack of good quality restoration companies or contractors to help rebuild, or it just, like I said, there's a process that goes into play. That's one of the other things you need to look at on your policy, your insurance policy. You know, contents coverage, debris removal. People don't even think about that. If the house did burn completely, how do I pay to get all the debris taken away? And there's limits so many times on that. So you have to look at the whole package, unfortunately. Again, it's the what if, and no one wants to talk about it, like you said, but these things that are happening right now, and they're happening in our own backyards, are kind of forcing everybody to take a look at being prepared. And that's the best thing is just be prepared and have yourself prepared. I hope it never happens to you, but you need to do that. Be prepared.
So some of the things you guys work with is homes or businesses, residential or commercial, that has been affected by smoke, fire, flooding.
Yeah, you know, up in the Carr fire too, we had numerous people that were just affected by smoke. You know, a lot of the schools that were miles away had, you know, ash and smoke damage. So it's not just the fire that you see that burns the homes, it's also the smoke in the area. It's still going on in some places. So smoke damage is a big thing, like you said, that you went through. Water damage, fire department shows up, you know, and creates a water damage in your house, putting the kitchen fire out. The main thing, Mark, is that people have to realize, and it's hard because when you're going through it, but all of that can be put back together. You know, correctly, and especially if you have insurance and it's going to be done.
Right.
It's trusting the people that you're working with is the big thing, because it is so emotional. You know, you didn't plan to have this happen to your house.
Right.
So it's not like a kitchen remodel where you have the money in the bank or you save the money and we're going to get granite tile. You're excited. This is something that happened out of the blue.
Yeah.
Why did it happen to me? And so there's a lot of emotion. So you really want to work with people that have empathy, that care, that are going to take you through that process, because it's not going to be a short process. And at times, depending on the size of the damage, unless it's just a simple overflow and the water needs to be mitigated and taken care of because there's no mold.
Right.
But I'm just trying to get the message across here today that's what you need to do.
Well, and I think as you pointed out, one of the issues you can have with water damage, you can have mold.
Yes.
And so that's one of the things that you guys have to check for. Now, can mold be detected right away, or sometimes does it take time?
It takes about 72 hours for mold to set in, and once it sets in, that's the other thing. You think you could, I sopped it up, I'm good because I have a large deductible, I don't want to call the insurance company.
Yeah.
But you got to be careful with that as well. It can show up in 72 hours or such. There's mold everywhere. It's in this building, it's in this state, this studio right now. It's just a question if it has the right conditions to affect it and get it started. One of the things I will point out though, our company, we will come out and use our expertise and give our expertise to folks if they want us to come out and take a look at something. We would do that. We do that as well all day, and give you our professional opinion of what you might want to do or what direction you want to take.
Okay, good. Thanks, Bob. All right, we're talking about Bob Battezzato with Cleanrite Buildrite, CRBR.com. If you want to get a hold of him, you're listening to Beyond the Numbers. We'll be right back. We're back. You're listening to Beyond the Numbers on Mighty 105.5. It's your host, Mark Bellows. I'm a tax CPA with Clifton Larson Allen. In the Roseville office, you can get a hold of me at 916-784-7800, or my email address is mark.bellows@claconnect.com. You can also go to our website, claconnect.com, to learn more about Clifton Larson Allen and to find out more information again about this webinar I'm putting on tomorrow. The firm's putting on that I'm actually doing the presenting at. We're going to be talking about the new Section 199A. Very exciting stuff. So it's actually good information for those who are going to be able to take advantage of that new deduction starting in 2018. And today we're talking with Bob Battezzato with Cleanrite Buildrite, CRBR.com, if you want to look at their website and find out more about them and how to get a hold of them. Headquarters in Chico, it's family business, it's been around for almost 60 years, and they actually have offices outside Chico as well, and so now Sacramento, Reno, Yuba City, and where else?
Reno.
Okay. Anyway, 5 offices all throughout the North State. Reading is another office.
Reading, yes.
Yeah, and so locations there. And so you guys are a restoration and cleaning company. It says in your card 24-hour emergency service and immediate response available. So what would that entail if someone had an immediate response? I mean, do you guys go and consult to start, or do you go and actually do some work in immediate response? What does that involve?
Well, that's another interesting part is people may or may not know the timing of things, or who all's involved, or who do I call, or who comes out first, or what's the cost going to be, because everybody wants to know about cost.
Sure.
So basically 24/7 emergency response, we will respond at any time, okay, day or night. We have crews that do that. So if you had a flood at your house, pipe bursts and floods your house in the middle of the night or something, you wake up and there's water all over your hall floor when you get up to go to the bathroom or something. You're freaking out.
Call you guys.
You call us 24/7 and we respond right away, okay? Now typically if you have insurance, and most homes should have insurance, unless you're a renter, which by the way, get renter's insurance please. It's the price of McDonald's, for crying out loud. No plug on McDonald's, but it is reasonable. I know people are under budgets, but it's reasonable to have it, and it does cover your contents, and it's something you should look into, renter's insurance. Sorry, distracted there. But if most people will have insurance because they're a homeowner,
right?
And so they call us out, and we respond right away. Now the reason why the insurance carrier likes people to use us is I talked earlier that we're governed somewhat. Governed is maybe a strong word, but we're all on the same page when it comes to pricing and response and certifications and what we do. So the insurance company is trusting that we're going to come out and start doing the things that were probably going to be necessary and paid for anyway. So that's how it starts, because you're not calling the insurance company yet, you're calling us to get out there and start doing the work at 2 a.m. in the morning. So we start and doing our job and doing the work we know that the insurance company is probably going to okay. And that's the key, is you don't want to call a company that doesn't know those things, and they come in and start ripping your house apart, and the insurance company says, I'm not gonna pay for all that,
Yeah.
who'd you call?
Yeah.
So, anyway, so we get out there, we start the work and start doing what we think is necessary to at least stabilize the situation and get it in a spot where we can start the next morning or the next working day, contact the insurance carrier and start bringing them up to speed as to what we're doing and what's been happening, and start writing our scope and estimate, and then working with the adjuster and such through your policy to get the job done.
So let's talk about that, the relationship amongst all the players.
Mhm.
So you've got the homeowner, the insurance company, the adjuster, we've got you guys.
Correct.
maybe-
And a lot of misnomers is that we're working for the insurance company, or we work for the insurance company or under their umbrella, and that's not true. We're a separate company. We just happen to be a vendor or partner
Right.
that you can use to get, your house put back together or respond to. So we don't work for them. We all do work within the policy and the estimates and such that are being done. However, a homeowner can go outside that and pay for things themselves if they'd like to. For instance, if you had a small fire in the kitchen and you wanted to upgrade to something, you always could do that with us,
Sure.
and it's outside the policy, and you'd pay us direct to do that.
Gotcha.
But we normally have to put back what's called like kind on the policy. We have to put it back exactly like it was, not better or worse, like kind. So that's what's going to go back into your house. That's how it works.
And so, to a point you made earlier, if you've done, let's say, a kitchen upgrade, but
Mhm.
you've not let the insurance company know, what are they going to consider like kind?
Well, they know what should go back based on like kind and such. If we go outside that and want to put granite in or build an island or move a wall or change something, we can do that. But I encourage you then to let your agent know that you did those upgrades in your home, and should that affect my policy limits now in my home. It may or may not, but at least let them know. So if it happened again, you'd be covered for those types of things. The other thing we run into a lot too, Mark, is code upgrades. Not everybody goes and gets permits on homes.
Yes.
And if something burns and it wasn't permitted or things like that, or there's code upgrades, so does your policy have code upgrades in it? Another good one to be talking to your agent about.
So you've got the insurance company, you've got the restoration company, you've got the homeowner, and so the homeowner can deal directly with the restoration company.
Yes.
Not have to go through the insurance company.
Don't have to typically. Typically you wouldn't have to. You're going to be working directly with us, and we'll work in partnership with your insurance carrier on behalf of you and take you through the process, communicate everything that's going on, and at the end, all the paperwork, given to you, full disclosure of what's happening and such. Most homeowners are going to be not most, all homeowners will be responsible for their deductible.
Mm-hmm.
So take a look at that as well on your policy, where your deductibles sit, because that part you do have to come up with as a homeowner.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah.
So you guys do homes, as we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Residential, you also do commercial.
Commercial,
So
yeah.
what types of,
We do everything,
office,
anything. Yeah, sure.
industrial, everything.
Churches, anything. Restaurants. Have a lot of issues sometimes.
I would imagine with potentially the oven fire.
With oven
stove
fires,
yeah.
stove fires, and smoke and things like that. But
Right.
any structure, we pretty much can get after it and take care of it, whether it's water, wind, fire, smoke, mold damage, anything like that.
Wind damage. Do we get a lot of wind
Oh,
damage?
a lot of wind damage, absolutely, especially up where we are in Chico, up in the Paradise area.
Uh-huh.
A lot of tree branches falling on homes and things.
Okay, gotcha.
We could do a whole nother session on being prepared, and
Trim trees around your
trim
house.
tree.
perhaps,
Yeah,
your
and it's
property?
all a lot of common sense. You'd be surprised how many people don't clean their gutters, and then the water backs up and goes under the eaves. We get that a ton.
That's a good point. We actually had the gutter glove guy on about a year ago.
Okay.
And so,
Yeah.
but that's a good point. So the water, if you don't clean your gutters, the
It
water
backs
gets
up,
under the
goes up
eaves.
under the eaves, and then you
Water
have water
damage.
damage. Yeah, and it's simple things, but people just aren't paying attention or whatever.
Sure,
I
sure.
get it. I don't always get up there to clean my gutters either now at the tender age of 60. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, you can go to our website and see some of those things of how to be prepared, tips and suggestions that we have on our website that talk about things to be aware of. And some are common sense. Some will be like, oh, I didn't think of that. And maybe it'll help you be prepared, so you don't have to call us in the middle of the night on a Saturday morning at 2 a.m. to come help you out at your house.
Yeah.
So.
So you guys do residential, you do commercial,
Yeah.
and then what else?
Well,
do you do?
we were talking, another one that unfortunately is growing is we do a lot of disinfectant control,
Okay.
a lot of encampment cleanup, we call it. Unfortunately, like I said, it's kind of growing a little bit, where we'll go in and the cities or counties, or even some of the larger facilities, universities will call us in where they've got a situation where folks are living there that shouldn't be, and doing things that they might not should be doing there, and we'll have to come in and clean that area up, and we do a great job with that, but it's a kind of a growing need. We call it basically home, encampment cleanup is the best term I can come up with.
Right.
But we'll go in and do a full cleanup of that. We do it up in the river bottoms up in Yuba City. We do it in some of the creek areas up in Chico. Where
so when you guys do the whole cleanup, do you then take away all the trash?
Everything that's there,
trash that's there,
that you can imagine. Yes.
Hazardous materials.
Hazardous material. We do biohazard cleanup. Yeah, we do disinfect and a lot of needles and things, unfortunately.
Sure.
And so our people are we protect them, highly certified, a lot of protection. So we go in cautiously, but we end up doing a great job with that. And that's, like I said, unfortunately, that's a growing service that we do provide as well if that's needed. So,
are there many businesses in your space that do that?
There's a few that might do parts of it. I don't know if there's many that do the package that we can do.
So you guys are pretty comprehensive.
We do the whole thing, and yeah. So
how long could that take? I would imagine it could take weeks.
Well, it depends again on the size and scope. We do have a pretty large crew to get after it.
Okay.
It's usually under the customer's discretion. Like if the city says I need this cleaned up in a week or 4 days or 3 days, we try to do what we can to get it done and accomplish it within that time frame. But you don't want to rush some of those things because you're dealing with biohazard and such. So
some real potential risks
at times. The interesting thing that comes from that, though, in some of the areas, is we've actually worked with some of the folks that have started those encampments, homeless folks. Then we've actually worked with them, and they've appreciated that we've cleaned an area up and got it to a point where it's manageable. And we'll go back every month or so and check on it and see how they're doing, and kind of keep it clean and safe at least. And so that's kind of the positive thing that comes out of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking today with Bob Battezzato. He's the Director of Business Development with Cleanrite Buildrite. Based in Chico, but offices throughout the North State here. And if you want to get a hold of him, it's CRBR.com.
Yes.
CRBR.com. We'll be right back. You listen to Beyond the Numbers on Mighty 105.5. I'm your host, Mark Bellows. I work for Clifton Larson Allen, a CPA firm with offices throughout the U.S., and I'm in the Roseville office. I'm a tax guy. I just got through our latest tax deadline, which was Monday for businesses that were extended, and now we've got October 15th coming up for individuals that extended, and September 30th for trusts, and so it seems like there's always a tax deadline coming up somewhere along the way. I'm also putting on a webinar tomorrow morning. You can find out more information at claconnect.com if you're interested. It's about the new Section 199 Cap A, which is talking about 20% deduction for certain types of business income. And today we're talking with Bob Battezzato with Cleanrite Buildrite, CRBR.com. CRBR is based, I keep saying based or headquartered, but anyway, started in Chico it's spread throughout the North State with offices around. You guys do a lot in the community up in Chico?
Yeah, we do. First of all, I don't know if your audience can hear the music that leads into our conversations, but I'd be remiss not to say that this is taking me back to my Chico State days. I gotta tell you, little Dave Mason there, I really appreciate that.
Thanks, Jerry.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry.
That's our producer.
That was great at this early in the morning, so thank you for that. Yeah, we do a lot in the community as well. It's one of the things that our founder Dan Andreessen really believes in. His father Vern Andreessen actually started the company 60 years ago and has passed it down on, and it's had that community flair. We try to do what we can. We don't have an open checkbook, but we do what we can in the communities we serve. And one of the big things one of the bigger ones we do is this great golf tournament that we put on up in Chico in partnership with autism, and we just raise a lot of money, do a lot of great things, and the money goes local, which is fantastic. We try to do the community things where the money does go local. We'll end up doing something next year for the car victims as well. We're trying to coordinate something right now to help with that.
Where's this golf tournament at?
So Well, the golf tournament's in Chico that
Right.
we do for autism.
Right.
The thing we're going to do up in Reading will be in Reading.
Of course. Makes sense.
Up at the golf tournament there. We actually had a golf tournament that we do every year in Reading around this time, but we postponed it till next year, around April, to get some time to help with what's happening up there with the car victims and such. And we're going to kind of coordinate that with the Wings of Angels, which we do up in Reading.
Okay.
And so it's always partner with someone local and
Mhm.
try to get the funds to go local. And we end up raising a pretty significant amount of money for people. And we do it also in do some things in Yuba City and in Reno and Sacramento, and we try to do what we can because we're community oriented that way. So
Right.
a couple of things since we kind of winding down here on time, I just thought of is a couple of things that I'd like to get out to everybody to let them know is mold is always a big conversation. We get a lot of people on our website, or touching base with us on Yelp about, hey, I've got mold, come out and take a look at it. So just two things. First of all, it may cost you nothing for us to come out and look. So if you have an issue or you have a water damage in the middle of the night, it may cost very little, maybe just a on-call, fee or something like that, a couple $100 for us to get out there, or maybe not even, depending on the situation, for us at least to come out and check to see what's going on. So that's important to know, because a lot of people think, well, if I call these guys, the meter's going to start running, or who pays, or how does this happen, or it's after hours. But typically, we can get that resolved. So I want to let people know that with a local company, you can get us to come out, take a look at it, decide what you want to do. Because many times people, like I said, might have a $1,500 deductible, and the damage is only $800. They might want to do it, and that's fine. So that's one thing.
Okay.
The other thing on the mold situation and all that, we're not allowed, well, not allowed, is the wrong word, we don't do testing.
Okay.
Because we get a lot of calls for that.
Right.
And the reason we can't do testing typically is it's self-serving. It's looked as, in the insurance world, as being self-serving. We go out and can test, we can,
Sure.
and not have integrity and falsify a test or something, or make the test look a certain way, and we can create work for ourselves, right? So we don't do the testing. So when it comes to mold situations, I always encourage people, you should at least, there's a lot of companies out there that'll get a test done first to see what you've got and what the situation is and if it's harmful or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do the part of the remediation. So we don't do the testing. We would come in then and remediate it, basically clean it up and such, and take care of it. So moving forward, you don't have those kinds of situations with mold. But mold, we get a lot of calls about that and such. And I just wanted to tell people you should, reach out to get it tested first, and then go from there if you're concerned about it in your home.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And
Mhm.
so, what does the mold remediation entail? Often, is it cleaning? Is it replacement of?
It could be all of that. The main thing is you don't want it disturbed. That's the main thing about mold is, because like I said, it's in everybody's house. It's in every building just about. It's just a question of whether it's active or not. So you don't want it disturbed. So there's certain ways we approach it. We've got certifications on how to do it, and we've got the right tools, chemicals and such to address it. A lot of people think they can just spray bleach on mold and it goes away.
Yeah.
Basically all you're doing, we know what bleach does, it basically whitens things, right?
Yeah.
So you're basically just discoloring it, and then why does it come back next month? Because the bleach wore off.
Okay.
So, but a lot of people, call us about mold in their bathrooms and things like that. And there's tips on our website about how to handle the small issues like that. But if you got a major issue in a house where you've got some major mold going on, you might want to get it tested first, see what you've got, and then kind of go from there. And then actually that test would also explain to a remediation company like myself what the protocol would be to get it to a clean home. So they kind of goes through the process.
And so, people wanting to find a mold testing company, they just can Google that, or how do they?
Yeah,
find that?
yeah. I mean, we work with a lot of them. We could probably direct you to one if you wanted. But if you're that concerned, it's worth the dollars to get it tested and see what you've got and what's
And
what's
does
going
insurance cover that?
Well, that's a great question, Mark. I knew you were going to go there
Policy.
next because you're good at what you do. But that's the hard part. Is if it's a pre-existing situation, they may not cover it.
Yeah.
If it was due because of a pipe leak or something like that, potentially they might, but depends on how long it's been since you reported it.
Mm.
So there's all that goes on. So that's why the mold conversation is such a tough one, because people do have it, they see it, they get afraid of it, but is it covered? Is it not covered? How long
Right,
has it been there? What are you gonna do about it? I can just clean it with bleach, all those things. So it's kind of an interesting conversation.
So topical situation right
Mhm.
now is what's going on in the Carolinas with the
Sure.
with the recent Hurricane Florence and all the damage that's happening there. So flooding, insane, incredible
Right.
flooding, as the pictures have shown. So are you guys have been involved in that, or people that are going
Sure.
down there and going to help out, right?
Yeah,
There's just so much work in that recovery effort.
We belong to an organization called Disaster Cleanup International. It's for local companies like ourselves to have a national approach or national resources called DKI. Anyway, there's a lot of those folks going down there right now to help out and lend hands. So we get called at times to go. Depends on our volume and what's happening with our certain
Sure.
situation here locally. But again, it's almost like an army situation, to be honest with, when they go down there. Right now they're going down just to position and figure out where should I be, what should we do.
Yeah.
There's a point where you can't start cleaning too soon, kind of like the smoke thing up in Reading. People were cleaning their houses with smoke and there's ashes in the air still, and insurance isn't going to pay for it twice.
Right.
So there's a timing situation. But right now they're mobilizing for the Carolinas, and folks are heading down there, getting situated, because they're going to start to the process. And some of the light mitigation will start taking place. People that might have had light water situations and they want to be dried out because they need their operation back and
Right.
working. This kind of stuff puts a lot of businesses out of business because
Sure.
they can't get back up and operate.
Yeah.
So that stuff will be going on. Some of the perimeter stuff, the deeper water situations will start taking place soon. We know a lot of adjusters that have mobilized to go down there as well, start to get the process going.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so someone's, if you see a picture of someone whose
Mhm.
house is 2 feet under, 3 feet, 5 feet underwater.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have to rebuild that house? I mean, what can you do?
Well, it's amazing.
I mean,
So
I'm
here's
sure
the
it depends on the
tricky part.
house.
If we have time, quick.
Yeah.
Here's the tricky part. You can't do anything till the water's gone.
Of course. It's gotta
Okay.
receive. Yep.
So then the tricky part is, okay, now we have 72 hours till mold. So it's not just the water, but now it's mold,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And how many people do we have down here? How many houses were affected? How can we get to it fast enough? That's why there's this mobilization going on.
Makes sense.
As soon as that water's gone, the insurance and everybody's going to want you in those homes drying as fast and efficiently as possible. And yes, there will be, you'll basically flood cut up, the walls and tear maybe some walls out, tear some structures out. You'll do all that to get it dried as fast as possible,
Right.
and then you'll do some rebuilding. And again, rebuilding, you have a choice. You can either choose us to do it, or you can choose someone else to do it. If you have a friend that's a contractor or something, and you've got the insurance dollars, you can go that route if you'd like to. And we tell people you don't have to use us full service. We'd like you to if you'd like, but you don't have to.
Right.
And again, they don't have to either. It's their money they got from the insurance company. They can have somebody else put it back together and rebuild it if they'd like. But that's what's going to happen down there. And again, it's a process. It's
Yep.
going to take time, and they're going to have to be patient to go through it, which is hard because where are they living? They're out of their house.
Yeah.
All those things.
So, well, Bob, thank you so much for being on the show today. Bob Battezzato, Director of Business Development with Cleanrite Buildrite, CRBR. You can look at their website, crbr.com. Again, kind of the point, just remember you have options.
You have options.
And you've got local companies like CRBR.
Call us and make sure you look at your policy.
Absolutely. All right, you've been listening to Beyond the Numbers. Thanks, everyone. We'll be back next week.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks.